Hey, it's Steve Salt Magazine again, and Eric. Finally, we finally got our times synced up. Did some grilling,
chilling,
and brought this dude in because he's the king of heaviness. He knows what's going on in the heavy world, and I got a bunch new vinyl that's super heavy. And then he's brought in a bunch of CDs. We'll see what all we can get through. But so we haven't got together on tune stuff in freaking years.
Been a while.
As far as the magazine goes, I mean that's a lot of years. But so putting this together on film for you. So you ready to get through some of this?
Let's do it.
Get this one out of the way. Clutch is newest. I think what got me disinterested at first was the album cover. It's a cool idea, but I don't think it turned out.
It's not technically an eye catcher for me either.
It was a good idea, but I don't think it worked out all that well. I don't know if were they trying to do a blues thing this time, or
I haven't read up too much on it. My first exposure to it was the first song off the album, or first, second song, whatever it is. Psychic Warfare, is that what it's called?
Yeah. The Affidavit?
No, that's technically an intro song.
Affidavit?
Yeah. Actually, X-Ray Visions.
X-Ray Visions, yeah.
X-Ray Visions.
Well, that was the video.
Yeah.
It's a cool video. Very cool video. That was a good way to intro it.
Yeah. It's a very catching, eye-catching video.
It reminds me of Beard a little bit.
A little bit.
As far as how powerful it is.
Got that conspiracy theory feel to it. To like to put out in their music. Whether or not they believe it or just making fun of it.
Right.
Good album though.
Firebirds was a good idea. I don't remember. But it's interesting. Like a lot of bands, they made a video of the recording, and there's a lot of interesting things about recording the album that are worth checking out. It's clutch. I mean,
if I was gonna pick one track off of it, Sucker for the
Witch.
Sucker for the Witch is definitely an ear catcher.
That's probably the one that is like the most what you'd expect.
Yeah, very clutch.
What you come to expect. Yeah.
Very clutch album. It's not like some of their ones in the past who sounded like clutch, but it wasn't clutch. This one sounds like clutch.
It's a little bluesy, but it's not really a blues album. It's like they're kind of going that southern direction maybe, but it's just clutch, I mean, they're not southern dudes anyway, really. But,
no, Maryland, I believe. Yeah. Good album though. Highly recommended.
I think I only gave $11 for that, and it's not bad for any album. Let's see. This one, have you listened to this Watchtower much?
I've heard a song off of it, and if it wasn't this album, I've heard music by them.
There's only 2 songs on this, and I guess they're being kind of long. That's why it's a 10-inch.
Right. That's the trend. Low and slow and long.
Right. But I thought the album cover's pretty cool. Album art. Well, this is not the Watchtower, the progressive metal band. That's one of the things I was going to try to remember that song that they sang. With the high vocals, the wailing. Whoa! Weird, very.
I couldn't tell you what that would be.
If I remember correctly, it's like some of these vocals are just almost as weird as the the vocals in that prog band, it's like he was always not. I don't know. You know how some prog music, I guess, is super hard to sing to or something because
Right.
because you know they end up making some weird sound.
It's more prog music's usually generally more centered around the vocals music anyway. Ooh, that's a beauty.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous.
Custom labels.
Orange, red, bleed.
Yeah, lovely. They had a few different. There's at least 4, maybe 5 different versions of this. I don't remember the pressing numbers. They're pretty low. I don't remember what they're pretty low press numbers. So they sold. Most of these are sold out. I'm sure you can find them on Discogs or something. But it's like a big single. Yeah, I thought they had quite some green and stuff, but I thought this was this was the match. You weren't gonna have a solid one. I don't think any of them are solid. I think they're all swirled or whatever like
marbled.
that. Yeah, marbled. I just thought that was similar to me. It's a little similar to Cathedral. Some of the Cathedral, the more doomy, I think, Cathedral. So kind of that type of stoner doom, a little more doomy stoner stuff. Can we come up with a different name than stoner? What else is there, man? We gotta come up with some.
Psych. It's got that feel to it, though.
Yeah.
That is the term, stoner. Stoner rock, stoner metal.
This one, I think I remember what's in here. My trusty blade. I'm an expert. Always cut away from the body.
Right. Towards your eye.
Let's see what's in here. I think there's one in here I'm gonna save for later. Yeah, save that one for later.
What's that?
This is Akuma, I guess.
It's not a band I'm familiar with.
That's who I was playing when you came in.
Okay.
They're from Mexico, from Morelia, Mexico, and they say this has been open. They say they've been.
All that.
They say they're trying for that straight edge sound.
Straight edge.
Which, I guess if you're gonna think of straight edge being a sound, it would just be hardcore, And this.
Put an X on your hand.
Yeah, and this, they're straight edge vegans, and more power to you. That's, it's a healthy way to live. More power to you. Not far from what I'm into, but this is not really a hardcore album.
Not what I heard earlier. No.
This is a little bit of everything. It's like, if you're gonna use the word, it's kind of like post everything. Post rock, post hardcore, post death, post.
That's the other big trend these days. Post this, post that.
Which is just kind of, I think,
it's
pretentious or something.
Right.
It's like you're something new. I'm new. We're different.
Right.
There's some fun art in here. But it is a real mix. I mean, they mix it up through the whole thing. It's not like there's a song like this and a song like this. It's real mixed throughout the whole thing, and some of it's not.
What?
It's some of it's not. It sounds kind of demo-ish. But I think it's probably because they're trying to do so many different things. And there's some good moments, and of course I can't remember some of the best songs on here. You'll just have to listen for yourself and find this on Bandcamp.
Did notice the artwork's very reminiscent of Pusshead artwork.
Yeah.
Not exact, but very similar style.
I'm not sure who that is, but it's very good as far as
Like this right here, show them that.
as far as cartoony, you know,
A lot of stippling.
stippling art, yeah. And it's kind of, I guess, probably what you might expect to hear. You thought, you know, maybe you're looking for doom, maybe you're looking for stoner, and you're not sure. Well, or black, you know, the goat. You're going to get a little bit of all of that with this. So they're now actually known by the name of Crassus, something like that. One of the guys left, and they got another guitarist, and it's a lot like this, but I think they honed it in a little bit more, and it's a little heavier, and the vocals are slightly different. But Akuma, I'm not a real big Jap anime watcher or anything, but I guess some of you might know that's a fiery-headed anime character, something like that. There's also a beautiful resort, Mexican resort, called Morelia, or Akuma or something. Very beautiful place. So I mean, pick which one you think there might be trying to go after.
Can't say I've been there, so.
If you look for this name, you're gonna find a dozen bands with that name. I guess that anime character's pretty popular. I don't know, but not too hard to find a Mexican band. Pretty cool stuff. This, I didn't know if I was going to get these because I waited a long time to get these. Wasn't sure if I was going to. But I really, really liked the art on these. It's one of the main things I liked is this. They really packaged this sucker up. Can't hold on to it. Which I appreciate them doing. The blade's falling out.
Careful with that knife, Eugene.
The blade's falling out. I should use my little girly blade. Probably be safer. Dylan's been messing with my blade here. I can tell it's falling apart. Dylan. That boy. Thinks he's a Boy Scout. Oh wait, he is. Maybe we'll get this thing open. This is where you edit your video, which I'm not apt to do very much of. So you're gonna have to suffer. Alright, that's good enough. Thanks for packing it so well. Bonus.
Right.
Frisbees.
Ooh, some Relapse product. Relapse Records. Always quality stuff. Quality looking, quality product.
Alright.
Quality packaging apparently
Quality
too.
packaging.
Thank you, Relapse.
Well, this, of course, they take the albums out and stick them in there, which I guess is a good idea. But this is their new one. I think I swallowed a little irony. This is their Cough's new one. Still They Pray. And, I really like the art on this. Good typeface choices. Even the spine's done well.
It's a Relapse product. They do it upright.
On this one I got the, I thought this was the best color choice. They had different color choices, and of course, I don't always want to get the best, get the matching colors. Sometimes contrast is better. But in this case, the matching was...
Oh yeah. It's brown, black, marble.
I think one of them is this color. Custom labels. They went all out on these. It's like 2 songs per side. And yeah, these are this kind of stuff. This is. It's not really doom. It is kind of it's doom, I guess, but not like
traditional doom.
Right.
It's more of a sludge.
Yeah.
Sludge doom. A little bit of death mixed in.
Got the gold. I don't know if I ordered the gold. Or I was thinking it was gonna be red. Maybe the other one is. Maybe the other one is. But nice custom labels. Really well done of the Roman numerals and stuff. Very cool. That's the way to do it. You're gonna do art, man. But this kind of reminds me of. Listen to this. I was just like. It reminded me of Lamentations, where it's just like, just utter suffering, just complete.
Very bleak.
Yeah, and I mean they're really trying to make it as, bleak as possible.
Right.
And it's like, Lamentations is talking about basically God taking his hands off of Israel and his people and just saying, you guys are really screwing up. Just if that's what you want to do, have at it. And things go really, really, really bad. And this is what it's like, when everything's like, I mean, you and I both have had like torturous situations, that just rip you to shreds, and you just think you're, I like, even just my dog dying hit me hard.
Right.
But this is like beyond that. This is like you're at your end. And I like the fact that, the last song is talking about Still They Pray, and it's like, I can't believe, people still think things are going to work out, and there's no hope.
Right.
It's like, wow, and that's all it's about. It's just like you're at your end. And that's what makes this so dadgum powerful. It's not any happy tunes. These are
Yeah, no.
There's an acoustic song at the end.
No
but
pop radio hits.
No, but it's like I like the organ towards the end. There's just vocals, and the vocals are just real tortured vocals, really tortured vocals. And then there's a lot of instrumental through the middle. And then towards the end, there's this real cool church organ sound that just really adds that. What they're trying to do is just that. No, there's no hope.
Whoa, there is no hope.
Sorry, guys.
You're all doomed.
Here's this controversial. I hear a card flopping around in here. Some controversial looking art here on this puppy. But these dudes are all about, the worst case scenario of life. So that's what you're getting here, But this art is just, it's great for that. It really shows the worst part of life.
Yeah.
This one is, there's really been a progression between the 3 albums that I know of. And this one's a little more harsh.
Is that the older one?
This is the second one, and
That other one's the newest
5
one,
years
right?
ago, and this one just came. The other one just came out. This one's from 2010, and they just re-released it on this colorful wax. It's almost too pretty.
Right.
They tried to do a blood red with milk and blood red, which is kind of a creepy thing, I guess. But
Very nice marble.
yeah.
Again, Relapse Records, high quality products, always.
The custom labels. Simple, but it looks more like a second album, you know, compared to a little more refined third one. And you hear it, see it, you know. You can tell, you know, Relapse said, yeah, we're going to put a little more into the third one. And then go back further and black and white cover on the first album. But, yeah, that's Kyle. Looks like one song each side. Probably.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Double EP, your
long,
double album with one song on
songs.
each side. That's what we like it, low and slow.
Yeah. But don't get in a hurry. Get to the point, which is nice. Now, on a happier note, sort of. I saw this, and of course, always catches my eye, you know, do the art right. And it's like supposed to blind you, you know.
It's kind of like a squid or something.
Yeah. And the album choices on this one, this is Elephant Tree. And you know, I can't remember what they have out. I can't even remember how old this one is. It's on Magnetic Eye Records. There's some cool stuff on Magnetic Eye, released with Magnetic Eye. A name like Spore, what are you going to expect to hear? Maybe.
What I've heard off this album, it's definitely some quality, just quality jams all the way down the line. Every song I've heard so far. Not heard the whole thing, been aware of, but I've heard several songs on online.
This is very fun to listen to. It's not poppy or anything. But if you're wanting to listen to something heavy, you know.
But it's not doom
No.
heavy. It's just heavy.
And it's just fun to listen to because it's just so cool. It's just super cool jamming. This is really cool thing to listen to.
Highly recommended.
Yes.
That's some beautiful marble there.
Now they had a few different versions of this. I went back and forth, couldn't decide which one I thought would work the best with this art, but because they had one that was these three colors split in threes, and that's what I ordered, and they said they had it, and then they sent me a nice little text message saying, "Will you accept the black and white?" All right. And some of them, most of the black and white looked more like this, with the white in the middle of that circle, like just that same idea. But nevertheless, still cool. You know, most all these are real heavy, 180, probably 180 gram.
Quality vinyl.
And so those sound better, obviously. It makes a huge difference. As quiet as it can be
Really?
when it's
Not a lot of snap, crackle, pop?
because if you leave it out for a week or two, you know, you're gonna get that. But
Use it as a ghost
when
tape.
you first grab that thing out and stick this thick slab on there, you can hear nothing but music, and it's so much, and it's just so much more powerful and everything. So in that way, yes, vinyl sounds better. But Elephant Tree, definitely picked that up. Out of all these that I've shown you already, this is probably the one anyone would like the most, unless you're wanting to torture yourself with somebody's suffering, you know. But
Torture in a good way.
yeah, you know, there's a time for everything. Let's see, but you want a lot more of this time, you know. Smile on your face, you know, just say, yeah, that's cool.
Right.
You know. So, that's the vinyl I've got. this time. Alright, that's the end of Side A. Now, Eric's got quite a few CDs to show you. So I'm going to hold that over till next time and add on the Vintage Motorcycle Show to that finally. Virgil's Dr. Better. Probably. 100% natural. Now, I rarely watch TV, yet I'm finally finishing up the show Continuum after a couple of years restarting it. Surely, if you're just looking for entertainment, it's still a heavy show. People go back in time to change the course of civilization from its inevitable demise. I don't know, maybe it's just heavy to someone like me who cares about such things as the path we all take. Now, while listening to these records, primarily the cop records for some reason, it brought to mind, as I said, the Book of Lamentations. The more I thought about it, the more it began to weigh heavy on my mind, heavier and heavier. The thoughts became more disturbing. For instance, Lamentations 5:15-16. The joy of our hearts has ceased. Our dancing has been turned into mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Lamentations may, at worst, just seem like just a useless bunch of nonsense somewhere in the middle of a big old book of fairy tales. I understand. Lamentations may, for some at best, be an old book written by a sad old prophet for God's people way back then. Lamentations, however, is a brilliantly written set of poems. If you really study it and how it was laid out in detail in Hebrew, you see how it was inspired in its acrostic, macrochiastic, and concatenated forms. It's truly fascinating. But there's more, and it's deep. Jeremiah and Haggai, both prophets, stood on both sides of the road, as it were, warning of the deadly cliff up ahead. And they were ignored by most. And the people did eventually lose it all. Jeremiah prophesied for his whole life. And, dozens of years. So, they all ended up destroyed. And Lamentations is Jeremiah's sorrowful lament of the demise of his people. Now, dark questions arise, and an answer does eventually emerge, though somewhat cryptically. But why, you may ask, does God always seem to be so dadgum cryptic? Why doesn't he just show himself, prove himself all the time? We may think if he just sends someone from heaven or sends someone from hell, then I'd believe. Well, it's not like he hasn't done that. But let me tell you a secret. You still would choose to disbelieve. God sent Jeremiah, and most of the people ignored him. Just as you brush away the preponderance of the evidence now, after all these years of evidence, you still just don't care. And two reasons why God doesn't just spell everything out for us. Well, one, just maybe he doesn't want to broadcast all his plans to the enemy. And we know there's that enemy, by the way. We see the wake of his destruction every day. But you know what? God doesn't want to lay out one direct plan with every detail of our lives. He wants us to make plans of our own, and as they head in a righteous and good direction, he'll further guide and make those steps even greater. Now listen, you would not want your future to be completely fixed by your present choices. You would not want your future to be completely fixed by your present choices. God's grace both allows for you to make your own choices and yet can also do something about our mistakes. We often don't experience that because we just don't care. We get so wrapped up in our own selfish ways, desires, and problems. We get so wrapped up in our own accomplishments. We don't even wake up in the morning to thank God for keeping our lungs moving at night while we sleep. Now, Jeremiah had been warning the people, and yet the people preferred to have rulers who would tickle their ears with ideas appealing to their selfish and mindlessly or worthless religious ways. People spend all their time chasing after vanities and ignore God completely, or attempt some worthless appeasement through religious rituals, instead of searching for the way to have the personal relationship He truly desires to have with us. We choose the perpetual sorrow that Jesus already experienced for us on the cross, and we miss the glorious joy He created us for. Jeremiah has seen the decimation and destruction all around him, and it says in chapter 2, the elders of the daughter of Zion sit on the ground. They are silent. They have thrown dust on their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes fail because of tears. My spirit is greatly troubled. My heart is poured out on the earth because of the destruction of the daughter of my people. When the little ones and infants faint in the streets of the city because of hunger. And we've all seen those who chant in the streets, celebrate what they pray will be our demise. We've seen them stomping on the Israeli and American flags, burning them, a lot like here. All who pass along the way clasp their hands in derision at you. They hiss and shake their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city of which they said, the perfection of beauty, a joy to all the earth? All your enemies have opened their mouths wide against you. They hiss and gnash their teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Surely this is the day for which we have waited. We have reached it and we have seen it. And at times it seems that God doesn't care even. That's not the issue. We set the course and ignore the consequences. It is often only when pain and destruction comes that we realize how much God hates the evil that we do, that we allow through our fear and selfishness. 1:14, the yoke of my transgression is bound. By his hand they are knit together. They have come upon my neck. He has made my strength fail. The Lord has given me into the hands of those against whom I'm not able to stand. Times it can even feel as if God is the enemy. Just like in verse 4, speaking of God, he has bent his bow like an enemy. Often the perception we get is because that seems to be the perspective of the writer, that ultimately the cause of their demise is God. However, this is usually just a description of meaning to point to the acknowledgement of God, that God is ultimately in control, and his omniscience must allow certain results. But with the end being justice and righteousness. Now, people chose the captivating charms and deception of paganistic ways and gave up their freedoms for that temporary comfort, only to end up decimated and desolated and in chains by their laughing and mocking deceivers. And these poems, it's a brilliant trinity of voices. Jeremiah, the author, who observed the agony; Israel, whom Jeremiah speaks for and at times identifies with; and ultimately these are the inspired words of the triune God speaking, pleading here for you to apprehend the good news which can arise from the ashes that result from the sin which affects our lives. And often it's only those who hit rock bottom who acknowledge the results of living in ways counter to which we were created. Ultimately, there are two states of being we can choose to live in. One where we care what God thinks, and one where we just don't care. And we don't want to have anything to do with them. But it's worth it to consider how much of the way we are living fits within the way we were created to live. For many, the ways they choose to live will lead to pain and sorrow and death. But God created us for life in love. We have all chosen the ways of selfishness and even death. And since it's impossible for such evils to exist in the presence of a perfect, holy God, there is a place prepared for those who choose not to be in His presence. Right now, we all live experiencing degrees of God's grace. The rain falls on the just and the unjust, it says. But there will come a day when some who choose to will continue to experience that grace. And God will give the others just what they ask for, to be left alone. In Jesus' time, some people thought that Jesus was maybe even Jeremiah come back from the dead. So it's interesting to listen to Jeremiah's sorrow. Is it nothing to all you who pass this way? Look and see if there's any pain like my pain, which was severely dealt out to me, which the Lord inflicted on the day of His fierce anger. Much like Jesus suffered on the cross. Or in chapter 3 it says, He made the arrows of His quiver to enter into my inward parts. I have become a laughingstock to all my people. Now, Jesus was pierced and mocked by the very people for whom He was paying the penalty for their wrongdoing. Jeremiah, in the midst of lamenting the suffering arising from Israel, turning away from God, also foreshadows the suffering Christ would bear on the cross, where He took the results of our wrongdoing upon Himself so that we are able to be in the perfect presence of our Creator, who desires to create something new in our lives, something that reflects His love. Now, these Lamentations ends with this, and we should all acknowledge: You, O Lord, rule forever. Your throne is from generation to generation. And we may often say, why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us so long? But unless you have utterly rejected us and are exceedingly angry with us, may we all say, restore us to you, O Lord, that we may be restored. Restore our days as of old. Now, many of us have suffered sorrow we weren't sure we would ever recover from. And yet, in God's grace and mercy, He has given us ways to restore our joy as before. So yes, still we pray that we all find that peace and rest in the one who restores our soul.